The most feared mafia boss in Seoul collapses, blood spreading across stacks of gold. Adaeze freezes because the man who pulled the trigger was someone from her past. She drops beside Jin-ho. Stay with me, stay with me. His hand grips hers, weak. A faint smile courted his lips. I already knew. From the moment you lied to me, her world stops. You were sent to destroy me. Tears fall without restraint. But I still chose you. A gun locks behind her. Boots thunder closer. And in that moment, Adaeze realizes saving him might be the last mistake she ever makes. Don't move. Kang's voice rang. Cold, controlled, too familiar. Adaeze doesn't turn. Her hands press harder against Jin-ho's wound. Put the gun down, Kang. A beat. Then, you were never going to finish the mission, were you? Kang blurted out, raw. Her jaw tightens. Boots, closer now! Louder! Jin-ho coughs! Blood! Adaeze. I'm here. Her voice almost breaks. Kang steps closer. You're really choosing him. Silence. Heavy. Does he know what you really came here for? A flicker in her eyes. That's all he needs. Or should I tell him? Bang, bang. The door shakes. Guards breaking in. Time is gone. Kang cocks the gun. Decision now. Adaeze closes her eyes. Just for a second. And makes a choice. 2 months earlier, Adaeze, Okonkwo didn't know it yet, but she had already made her first mistake. Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos. She sat still, too still, a book open in her lap, but she hadn't read a single word. Because this wasn't just a trip to Seoul, this was a mission where people didn't come back alive. Her eyes scanned the room, calm, controlled, no threats. Everything clean. Long flight ahead, she turned, and instantly, something felt off. The man beside her. Too close, too deliberate, too calm. Soul, he asked. Her eyes sharpened. How did you know that? The book in your palm gave you away. His face lifted into a controlled but short-lived smile. Just long enough. Lucky guess. Adaeze held his gaze. Her instincts didn't like him. Adaeze,
she said. She offered her hand. He ignored it. Eagle. No last name. Something in her tightened, because men who hide their names are never just passing through. They talked. But it wasn't casual. He asked just enough, listened too well, watched everything. She answered carefully, leaving things out, controlling the conversation. But for the first time in a long time, she felt like she was being read. Business in Lagos, she asked, something like that. Not an answer, and yet he held her attention, effortlessly. That bothered her. Pay system crackles. Passengers for Seoul, boarding now. Adaeze stood. That's me. He stood too. Sami. Of course. Safe flight, Mr. Eagle. You too, Adaeze. Haida. He said her name, like it mattered. She walked away, didn't look back, but halfway to the gate, her steps slowed, just slightly, because something didn't feel finished. And for the entire flight she couldn't stop thinking about him. She told herself it was instinct. A potential threat, but deep down, she knew that wasn't the full truth.
The next part terrified her so much. She could only say it in a whisper.
A quiet room. A file slides across the table. Your target, Park Jin-ho. Adaeze opens it, looks down, and freezes. Because the man staring back at her is Eagle, the man from the airport. The one she already let too close. Are you all right? She closes the file. Perfect composure. Fine. But inside, everything has changed. Because she just realized something dangerous. She didn't just find her target. He had already found her. Director Yoon gave her one job: get close to Park Jin-ho. Not from a distance. Inside his world. Because the 400 kilograms of missing gold didn't move itself. And the last 3 agents who got close to him, their bodies were retrieved from the Han River, floating lifeless, including his head of security, whose space was vacant now. Adaeze, Yoon called. Silence stretched. She nodded, calm. Calculated, Yoon continued. We are still waiting for you to subscribe to this mission. Or decline. Adaeze walked closer to the system and clicked subscribe. And somewhere in Seoul, Park Jin-ho was already waiting, not for a new bodyguard, for her. Is she walking into danger or fate? Say one word in the comments. She would pretend she had never met Park Jin-ho before in her life. She would walk into that room and play her role with the same cool precision she always did. After all, she was a professional. Later that afternoon, when she entered to meet Park Jin-ho, he had, for 1/2 second, recognized her as the girl from the airport. Adaeze started that same afternoon. Her role was close protection, and she was to be within arm's reach of Park Jin-ho at all times during his public movements, managing threat assessment, clearing rooms, monitoring entrances and exits. The other members of his security detail, 3 Korean men who looked at her with open skepticism, introduced themselves with the bare minimum of courtesy. She didn't need them to like her. She needed them to respect her, and that would come in time. Park Jin-ho himself said nothing to her for the rest of the first evening, and she wasn't a bit bothered. But that night, as she sat at the desk in her room going over the compound's layout maps, there was a knock at her door. She opened it. Park Jin-ho stood there with 2 cups of tea, as if this were the most ordinary thing in the world. I couldn't sleep, he said. She stared at him. That isn't my department, he agreed. He held out one of the cups anyway, against every professional instinct. She took it. He leaned against the door frame. Lagos, he said quietly. Murtala Muhammad Airport. You were that girl with the book titled The Remains of the Day. She kept her face still. It's a small world indeed. Silence stretched between them like a wire pulled tight. She didn't still accept the coffee. There anything I can help you with, sir? Adaeze asked. Not exactly, Ada, Park replied. I just wanted to see your face again. Didn't smile, and Adaeze didn't too. Then, as he closed the door, Adaeze stood on the other side of it with her back against the wood, and her heart beating exactly 4 times faster than normal. In the compound, the mafia lord she had come to protect had a room that nobody talked about. One morning, she was doing her morning walkthrough of the building's interior the way she always did in a new environment. And she turned a corner and found herself facing a door. It was not a remarkable door in any visual sense. Dark wood, like all the other doors in the compound, with a simple brass handle, and it had no lock that she could see, which was itself unusual in a building where nearly every other room had a keypad or a deadbolt. What was remarkable was what happened when her assistant warned her that the room doesn't need to be on her inspection route. Is it a storage room? Server room? What's behind it? Her assistant looked at the door the way people looked at things they believed could hear them. "We don't go in there," he said. And then, quieter, as though he was afraid of her own voice, he added, "Nobody goes in there. Nobody." She turned back to the door. "Why, I don't know." Her assistant replied and was gone before she could ask another question. Adaeze stood alone in the corridor and looked at the door for a long moment. Then she looked at the brass handle, turned and followed her assistant, hopping to return to the mysterious room the next day. She carefully and casually asked about the mysterious room that evening, the way she asked about everything she actually needed to know. She was in the security room with the 3 detail members, going over the next day's movement schedule, and she slipped it in between 2 logistical questions. The East Wing lower corridor, the door at the end. Is that on the camera grid? The security room went quiet suddenly. The youngest of the 3 looked down at his console. The second man stared down, while the third, who was the oldest, looked at her with warning eyes. "It doesn't need to be on your grid," the oldest said. "Has it got a camera?" she pressed lightly, as though she were simply completing a technical checklist. "Adaeze," the man's voice was measured. "In this compound, there are things that belong to Mr. Park's family, things that have always been here that we do not touch, and we do not discuss, and we do not investigate. The East Wing door is one of those things," he said. She nodded professionally and moved on to the next item on the schedule. But later, alone, she wondered why 3 grown men, professionals, men who handled weapons and threats, and danger as routine, and a single door made all 3 of them look like children who believed in monsters. "What's in there?" she thought to herself. "Does it have anything to do with the gold? What mystery is behind that door? Everyone in this compound is terrified of it, except Adaeze. And that curiosity will change everything." Share your thoughts in the comments. One day, as she was doing her night sweep, she stopped in front of the door and stood there for almost 2 full minutes. Nothing came from behind the door. No sound, no light beneath the frame, no smell. Just the door, ordinary and impossible at the same time. "It won't open for you." She turned. Park Jin-ho stood at the corridor entrance, hands in his pockets. She hadn't heard him approach, and that bothered her, not because it frightened her, but because she was very good at hearing people approach. "I wasn't trying to open it," she said. "You were thinking about it." She turned back to the door briefly, then to him. "What's in there?" The change in his face was subtle but real, like shutters coming down over a window. "Nothing that concerns your work here," he said. "Security is my work. Every room in this compound concerns my work. That one." His voice carried a finality she hadn't heard from him before. Up until this moment, Park Jin-ho had spoken to her with a guarded openness. Yes, careful, but open. Now he was a different texture entirely. "That room is not part of your duties. You will not add it to your route, and you will not ask the staff about it." "Why?" she asked directly without apology. "Because I'm telling you not to," he said. "And I am not accustomed to repeating myself." She held his gaze till he finally walked away. she might have thought. Is Park Jin-ho protecting someone or something in that room? It will shock you once you find out. The next day, Lin Chi, the mafia lord's fiancé, arrived. And if the mysterious room was a cold silence in the compound, Lin Chi was its opposite. She had a presence that arrived loudly even when she made no noise at all. Adaeze was in the courtyard running movement drills when the convoy pulled in. 2 black cars, with the second one carrying Lin Chi's personal staff. The first car door opened, and Lin Chi stepped out, and Adaeze understood immediately, in the complete and wordless way that women often understood each other, exactly what kind of woman she was dealing with. Lin Chi was beautiful. She was tall for a Korean woman, dressed in a winter white coat that fell to her ankles, her black hair cut in a severe, perfect line at her jaw. She wore almost no jewelry. Park Jin-ho came out of the house to welcome his heartthrob, and Adaeze took up her standard position and observed. Lin Chi looked at Jin-ho the way someone looks at a valuable painting they own, with a proprietary eye that checked for damage before it expressed any warmth. She kissed him on both cheeks, a gesture that managed to be both intimate and businesslike. "You look well," he said. "I always do." She turned her head, then looked directly at Adaeze, as if she had known exactly where Adaeze was standing, and had simply been waiting for the appropriate moment to acknowledge it. "And who is this?" she asked. Her Korean was the dialect of old Seoul money, crisp and elevated, and every syllable placed with care. "Adaeze Okonkwo," Park Jin-ho said, "my new head of personal security." Kai looked at Adaeze the way one might look at an unfamiliar item of furniture that had appeared in one's living room without explanation. "She looks like a cop," she said. At this moment, Adaeze's entire cover and mission is hanging on 4 words from a woman in a white coat. It will take just a single comment, a moment that screams, survive or get busted. Adaeze's heart skipped a bit, but she maintained composure. She didn't like the way Lin Chi had see-through eyes. She wasn't ready to get her cover blown. At least, not yet. She looked back at Jin-ho. "Shall we go inside? I'm exhausted from the drive." "Thank God." Adaeze breathed a sigh of relief. Lin Chi walked into the compound without waiting for an answer, her white coat moving like a flag. Park Jin-ho glanced briefly at Adaeze, but she kept her face professional and neutral. As Lin Chi walked away, Park Jin-ho came up to Adaeze and looked straight into her face. "Say anything to her about the mysterious room, okay?" "Why? What are you afraid of?" she asked. Park Jin-ho was quiet for a while. "She doesn't like talking about it," he said. "Everyone feels something from that room, and it makes them afraid." He studied her face. "You don't feel that. Feel it," she said honestly. "I'm just more curious than afraid." He was quiet for a long moment. "That is either very brave or very dangerous." "Are you worried about me?" Adaeze asked, and Park Jin-ho stammered. The question took him by surprise. "Because I want you," he replied. "I love you, Adaeze." Adaeze paused. This was something else entirely. She was here to protect him, not fall in love, she replied. "Your fiancé is waiting inside, Mr. Park." Next day was a Tuesday evening, and Park Jin-ho had a meeting in Gangnam where 3 undercover conmen, disguised as businessmen, came to seal deals with him. As Adaeze had suspected, it turned out to be a setup. She moved fast, and it was over in less than 40 seconds. One man went down with a knee strike to the solar plexus that folded him like paper. The second conman was faster and gave her an elbow to her jaw. That snapped her head sideways before she caught his arm, turned his own momentum against him, and put him face first into the floor, with enough force to dislocate his arms permanently after taking down the conman. Adaeze touched her jaw where the elbow had connected. It would be bruised. "Are you hurt?" Park Jin-ho asked. Rushing up to her, his voice was oddly tight. "I'm fine," she said. "We should move, Ada, Mr. Park. We need to leave this location now." Moved but didn't stop looking at her, extremely worried back at the compound. After the debrief, she was in the medical kit room pressing a cold pack to her jaw when she heard the door open, and Park Jin-ho came in without knocking. He had a first aid kit in his hand, which surprised her, because a man like Park Jin-ho did not typically fetch his own first aid kits. "I said I'm fine," she said. "I know what you said." He sat down across from her and opened the kit with the focus of someone who had patched wounds before. "Let me see. Isn't Ada?" He looked up. The way he called her name made the argument dissolve before she could finish it and lower the cold pack. He leaned forward and examined the bruise forming along her jaw carefully. He watched his face while he did it, the small tightening around his eyes and the line of his mouth. He was extremely handsome for a mafia lord. He opened an antiseptic wipe. "Hold still." She held still, but the antiseptic was cold. "Who sent them?" he asked. "I don't know yet." Her eyes moved from him to his biceps. "But I will find out. Ada." He said her name differently this time. Not a command, not a redirect. Just her name, quiet and deliberate, like he had been holding it in his mouth. His thumb moved barely, just a fraction against her jaw. "Thank you," he said, "for what you did. It's my job," she said. "I've been doing this a long time." He stopped and something shifted in his face, but she didn't move, and he kissed her. "I love you, Ada. I love you too, Mr. Park." She kissed him too, not a tentative kiss, but certain and warm and brief. The thing about falling for the wrong person is that it never ends well, and Adaeze was about to find that out. Keep watching. Because tomorrow morning, his fiancé arrives at breakfast, and she knows something. She stood up, took the cold pack from the table, pressed it back to her jaw, and walked to the door. "Good night, Mr. Park," she said. She closed the door, went to her room, sat at her desk, opened her encrypted device, and stared at the blank report field for a long time. She did not report the kiss. She told herself it was because it was operationally irrelevant. The next morning, Lin Chi appeared at breakfast in a silk robe the color of champagne, hair loose, and sat across from Park Jin-ho with the ease of a woman completely at home. She looked at Adaeze's bruised jaw with eyes that widened in something that resembled concern. "Oh, you poor thing," she said. "Were you hurt yesterday? Park told me there was an incident." She looked at Park Jin-ho. "She handled it," Park Jin-ho said. "Of course she did." Lin Chi smiled at Adaeze, but her jaw says otherwise. She picked up her coffee cup with both hands. "Darling, I was thinking we'd visit your mother's memorial this afternoon together," she said to Park Jin-ho, and a heavy pause followed. Jin-ho set down his chopsticks as something moved across his face. "I'll arrange it," he said quietly. Lin Chi smiled. Adaeze kept her face still and professional, looked at her schedule, and noted that this was the first time she had heard about a mother's memorial. "You didn't tell me about the memorial, Mr. Park." Adaeze noted, and Lin Chi looked up. "The head security. I need to be filled in on every incident." Adaeze added. Lin Chi dropped her coffee and looked at Adaeze. "Oh, how bad of him." "Yano," Lin Chi began. "His mother died when he was 11. In this house." Adaeze looked up slowly. "In this house," Lin Chi nodded. "His mother died in this house, and nobody goes in that room." By noon that same day, a car pulled up to the gate, and the man stepping out of it was going to change everything. By 12 noon, the gold arrived quietly without announcement. Adaeze was running the afternoon perimeter check when the gate feed showed a single car pulling up. A private car, dark blue, older model, with just one occupant. The camera showed her the driver's face on the small monitor. It was a Korean man, mid-20s, lean face, close-cropped hair, a scar that ran from his left ear to the edge of his jaw. She looked more closely at the face, and her jaw dropped in surprise. She had known that face for 6 years, Kang Hyun-soo. Her Kang Hyun-soo, her ex-lover. He had been her partner at the Korean National Police Agency's intelligence training program in Busan, back when she had been seconded there on an Interpol exchange. They had spent 14 months training together, and somewhere in those 14 months, between the night drills and the debrief sessions and the exhausted dinners in small restaurants near the academy, they had become something more than partners. Lovers. And then he had left, not the program, but everything. He had gone off the grid, suspiciously and untraceable. The last official record of Kang Hyun-soo in any Korean intelligence database was 6 years ago. And now here was her ex at the gate, the stolen gold in his back seat. And one word from him would blow her cover. The problem: she had fallen in love with the very man she came to bring down. She was completely doomed. "State your name and your business." She pressed the intercom. "My name is Kang," he said. His voice was the same, exactly the same like 6 years back. "I have something that belongs to Mr. Park, and I'm here to return it." He had approximately 30 seconds before her assistant arrived, and the situation became procedural and out of her hands. 30 seconds to think, and she thought very fast. He knows me and my real name. He knows I was trained by Korean intelligence. If he decides to say any of that inside this compound in front of Park Jin-ho's people, my cover would be blown right away. She thought hard. "Open the gate," she said to her assistant, who had just arrived beside her. "I'll handle the intake personally." Her assistant looked at her. "Protocol says." "I know what protocol says." Adaeze kept her voice level and her eyes on the gate. "I'll handle it." Gate opened, and the dark blue car pulled in slowly. Do you think Adaeze still has an inch of love for her runaway ex? If she does, she might be doomed. If she doesn't, she is still doomed. Keep watching to find out. Adaeze stood in the compound's courtyard in the gray Seoul afternoon sun and watched Kang Hyun-soo step out of the car. He was thinner than she remembered, and the scar on his jaw was new. He was dressed in ordinary dark jeans and a heavy jacket. He looked at her, and she looked right back at him. "Adaeze, it's been ages," he said. "Shut up and open the back door of the car." Adaeze shot back. In the back seat, wrapped in dark cloth that had fallen partly open, were 3 solid blocks of gold the color of a late afternoon sun. Each one roughly the size of a hardback book was estimated somewhere between 10 and 12 kilograms, 30 kilograms, a fraction of the 400 that had gone missing. "I'm here to see Mr. Park," Kang said. "Tell him Kang is here. He'll know the name." "I'm sure he will," Adaeze said. She held the gate of the car door and looked at the gold and thought about 6 years and 14 months, and a scar that hadn't been there the last time she'd seen his face. Kang knows who she was and could destroy everything. And somewhere in his reasons for being here, for bringing back this gold, for walking into this compound, was what she didn't know yet. "What are you doing here, Adaeze?" Kang asked, concerned. "I told you to shut the hell up." Adaeze shot back impatiently. She stopped at the foot of the main staircase and told him to wait while he went upstairs to fetch Park Jin-ho. Upstairs, Park Jin-ho was in his private office on the 2nd floor, a room she had access to as head of security, though she used it carefully, always knocking, always waiting. She knocked and entered. Park Jin-ho was at his desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled to the elbows, working through what appeared to be shipping documents. He looked up when she entered, and a smile crept up his lips. "There's a visitor at reception," she said. "His name is Kang, and he says you know him." She paused. "He has something in his vehicle that I believe belongs to you." Park Jin-ho remained calm like a true mafia lord, but he had the look of a man receiving news he had been waiting for, with a complicated feeling about its arrival. "Where is he?" he asked. "Ground floor, East reception." Adaeze replied. He stood, reached for his jacket, and moved past her toward the door. And as he passed, he turned his head slightly to tease her. "You're beautiful, Adaeze." Adaeze smiled. Something tingled in her. "That gold has been missing," Park Jin-ho said as he reached for her lips and kissed her deeply as a soft moan escaped her lips. "If this man has brought some of it back, it means he either wants something or he's afraid of something." "I'll watch him," Adaeze said reassuringly as she finally pulled away. Downstairs, when Park Jin-ho met Kang, he did not offer him a seat. Kang stood with his hands clasped in front of him, and his face neutral, and Adaeze stood 6 feet behind Jin-ho, looking at the 2 men, an ex-lover and the man he currently loves. 3 blocks lay on the low table between them, and Park Jin-ho looked at it for a long moment, then at Kang. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "It came to me through channels I won't specify." Kang said, "Today I return what I have, and I tell you there is more. I know where the rest is, and I'm prepared to give you that information." "In exchange for what?" "Safe passage," Kang said. "Out of Korea. For myself," and he paused, and Adaeze felt the pause like a change in air pressure. "And one other person." Adaeze neither moved nor changed her breathing. She stood like a wall just as Kang's eyes moved briefly to her face, then back to Park Jin-ho. It took less than a second. Jin-ho noticed the eye movement, but said nothing. "I'll think about your terms," he stood. "In the meantime, be our guest." He looked at Adaeze's assistant now. Show Mr. Kang to the guest room and make sure he stays comfortable. You are now eligible to subscribe to this channel. Congratulations. You earned it. Feel free to subscribe now. This is what played out next. The assistant unfroze and led Kang away. A man who walked into the Park Syndicate compound knowing he would not be immediately free to leave was a man who had calculated his position and decided it was survivable. Why? She thought. What are you doing? Kang Hyun-soo, really? Kang still has feelings for Adaeze, or he was just smarting it out with his Connie ways. Comment your response. Pushpin. The room emptied, and then it was just her and Park Jin-ho, alone with 3 blocks of gold on a low table between them. You know him? He asked. She lied. We might have met before, I guess. Jin-ho turned slowly and walked toward her. The way he moved through every space, unhurried and certain, with the particular confidence of a man who had never needed to rush toward anything because things always came to him. Adaeze looked at him. His eyes were soft and charming. Oh God, Adaeze, he said quietly. Who is he to you? She looked at him and made the decision that the best lie was one that borrowed from the truth. I may have crossed paths with him in a previous contract in Busan, years ago. If that's the same man, I barely knew him. Park Jin-ho looked at her for a long time. She held the look without flinching. 10 years of this. She could hold any look. He was close enough to see the small scar at the edge of her chin and touched the bruise on her jaw. His thumb traced it with a gentleness that was different from a man whose hands had done rougher things. She did not stop him. Does it still hurt? He asked. She held very still. A little, she admitted. She kissed him first, and he responded immediately, one hand caressing her face and the other finding her waist, and pulling her toward him with a firmness that was strong but gentle. She leaned into it, and the kiss deepened. Who used his body for real things, the density of muscle, and of old scars under her fingertips. Careful of that guy. Park Jin-ho said in between pecks. She didn't respond. Just then, Park's phone rang, and he picked it. Business call, he said to Adaeze, and disappeared through the door, while Adaeze went in search of her Kang, whose presence was a ticking bomb. Kang appeared silently behind her. Clever move. He was still clever. She had always loved that about him. He came and stood beside her, too close. What are you doing in Seoul, Kang? She asked quietly. Business, he said. I didn't know you were here. He turned to her, and she saw in him a man who had spent a long time in conditions that were not kind. What are you doing here, Ada? You already know. I'm here to bring Park down, she said. You trying to get out of something I walked into a long time ago. He turned. The gold isn't mine. I was holding it for someone. Was quiet, Park, he said. Why the 2-person passage request? There was a long silence. Because I know that you're an undercover agent, Kang said quietly. I know why you're really here, and when this thing falls apart, and it will fall apart, Adaeze, I wanted you to have a way out. He looked at her. I was trying to protect you. It was true. Kang still loved her in the most protective way she had never forgotten. 2 dangerous men in love with her, and only one of them is telling the truth. And the truth was going to cost all 3 of them something they couldn't afford to lose. Tonight, the mysterious door opens and exposes the dread behind it. She looked at him for a long moment and walked away painfully. That night, sleep was impossible. Lin Chi's annoying giggles floated into her ears from the other room. She lay in the dark and thought hard. Kang was back and Park Jin-ho knew something was wrong. That was the real problem. There was a knock at her door at 1 a.m., and she already knew who it was, but she refused to open. She thought about Director Yoon and the encrypted device in her bag, about Kang and the gold on the table, the case she had been building brick by brick, kiss by kiss. She thought about the mysterious room and whatever Park Jin-ho was protecting behind it, 3 floors below her. At the end of the East Wing's lower corridor, the mysterious room waited. And down the hall, Kang Hyun-soo sat on the edge of his bed, gazing at the wall and thinking about the things he had not told her yet, the thing that would change everything, the thing about why he had left her in Korea. Just as Adaeze was about drifting asleep, a sound from the lower floor woke her. She went downstairs, and to her surprise, the door to the mysterious room was wide open, the brass handle catching the corridor light. Adaeze stood in the corridor and looked at the open door. Everything in her professional training said, radio it in, wait for backup. But she ignored and went in. The room was not what she expected. In her mind, she had built a picture of a family shrine or a secret temple. But what she found was an ordinary room with a stone floor and a single window high in the wall. And then she turned on her torch and saw what was in it. Gold, not 3 blocks, not 30 kilograms, but hundreds of kilograms of it, stacked in careful columns along 3 of the 4 walls. The torchlight ran across it, and the room blazed quietly as she stood very still and did the calculation. This is it, she thought. This is where it went. This is the room. The gold hadn't been smuggled out. It had been here the whole time, hidden in plain sight inside a room that nobody dared search because of the myth built around it. She swept the torch around the room, and in the far corner away from the gold was a low table with a photograph in a frame, a dried flower, and a small ceramic bowl with ash in it, the kind used for incense. She crossed to it and looked at the photograph. The photograph was a mid-30s Korean woman with a face that unmistakably looked like Park Jin-ho's. It was his mother, beautiful and completely alive in the way photographs captured people who were no longer alive. Beside the photograph was a name written on a small card in Korean characters. Suyeon. 1965, 2001. Adaeze looked at the arrangement for a long time. The gold was stored here because no one would come here, because this was where his mother's memory lived, and Park Jin-ho had wrapped the fear around it like walls around a garden. He had taken the mythology and dread that already existed and had cultivated them. The room protected the gold, and the gold protected the room. She thought about Kang's words. I know where the rest is. I'm prepared to give you that information. Kang had known where it was and had come here not to return what he'd taken, but to bargain his escape from Korea. Kang wasn't the thief. Kang was something else entirely. Something she needed to understand before this night ended. She was still standing there when 3 people appeared in the doorway. Lin Chi held a small, elegant pistol, like someone who had held one before, and beside her was Kang. At this point, Adaeze feels betrayed by Lin Chi and her ex-lover, Kang. How do you think she'll react? Do you know how long I've known about this room? About all of this? She took one step into the room. The pistol was steady. My father has known about this gold for 20 years. It was promised to our family as part of our marriage arrangement. And Park Jin-ho, her voice changed here, cracking slightly. Jin-ho has been moving it, hiding and keeping it from everyone, including us, including me. Don't like it when guns are pointed at me. Adaeze said, "You think I don't know what is going on between both of you?" Lin Chi asked, tears gathering in her eyes. I have done everything correctly my entire life. Everything. And you walk in from wherever with your... She stopped. Kai. Kang's voice was urgent now. This isn't the plan. The plan was. The plan changed, she said sharply, and looked at Adaeze. Tell me who you really are, she said. Tell me now, because Kang told me what he suspects, and if he's right, then you being in this room is the most dangerous thing that has happened here in years, and I want to hear it from you. Adaeze looked at Lin Chi, at the pistol, at Kang's face, with its complicated cargo of guilt and history. Just then, Park Jin-ho emerged from the doorway behind all of them, and everything stopped. Then the compound erupted with sounds of heavy boots running through corridors. Professional entry, doors being taken, boots on floors. The coordinated movement of a team that knew exactly where it was going. The Korean intelligence, led by Director Yoon, were in the compound. Meanwhile, Park Jin-ho looked at Lin Chi and the pistol. Put it down, Kai. No, Lin Chi started. It down. We're going to lose everything. She looked at Park Jin-ho. Her voice was very quiet. I told you she is an undercover cop. She is going to take everything from you. I know, he replied. The boots were on the stairs now. And then Kang moved, pulled a weapon from the back of his waistband, and aimed at Park Jin-ho. Bang. The gunshot echoed like thunder in the room as Park Jin-ho's body hit the floor, and blood spread beneath his head. Adaeze slammed into Kang before he could fire again. Are you insane? She shouted, driving her elbow into his arm. Outside, the sound of boots thundered through the corridor. They were coming. Fast, too fast, she got her arm across Kang's throat, choking him intensely until he went limp, rendering him unconscious. Adaeze crossed the room and dropped beside Jin-ho. Impossible. He was still alive. She froze for half a second. She had to choose between her mission or the man she was never supposed to fall in love with. Subscribe immediately. The final part is here. What you will see will either restore your faith in love or break your heart entirely. How fast can you run? Lin Chi asked. I'll buy you enough time. The boots were now kicking hard against the door. Lin Chi picked Kang's pistol with hers and fired aggressively at the door. The Korean intelligence fired back. She shouted back at Adaeze. Getting Park Jin-ho to his feet was a physical negotiation. He was heavier than a rock, but Adaeze managed to support him as they limped out through the back door. Just then, Lin Chi screamed, followed by a charade of gunshot. And then, silence. The room has given up its secrets. The gold has been found, and the cover is blown. Lin Chi is likely dead. Kang would do jail. Adaeze and Park Jin-ho have escaped into the city. She had given up her future for a mafia lord. Now, the case is closed, but not the story. Push bin wow. That was an amazing story that will stay in your heart for a long time. Where do Adaeze and Park Jin-ho go from here? Did you feel sorry for Lin Chi? Is Kang redeemable? Share and hit the subscribe button to stay tuned to more amazing stories with twists, romance, and tension. Pushpin.